the Best You podcast. The sole purpose of this podcast is to teach, inspire, and motivate everyone to be the best versions of themselves. It's your man LD Larry Dawson, and we're back for another episode of the Be the Best You podcast. If you're watching today, please make sure you take the time to like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about the show. Tell us what you think about past shows. Tell us what you'd like for us to talk about on upcoming shows. Man, I got my main man Sam with me here today.
What's up, everybody?
Tell everybody who you are. Tell them about yourself. Tell them what you got going on in your life.
Right. My name's Sam Carlson. I'm 46 years old. I was actually born in Indiana. Been in Charlotte area, North Carolina, pretty much my whole life. So I've been here about 44 years. I actually own bars and restaurants in the Charlotte area. I've owned 8 different bars, restaurants. I owned a vape store at one point in time in uptown Charlotte. Had a children's clothing line. I've been in a lot of different businesses. So after I did that for a long time, and I decided to get married and kind of slow down and settle down, I got a corporate job with a car dealership here, State Line, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Ended up doing finance over there. It was a pretty sweet gig for me. I was, making some good money. Life was good. Bought a house and, did all that stuff. So did the corporate job for a couple years. It was a very good learning experience for me. I take a lot from it. After that job, I went to a place called Chicago Motor Cars. Basically, I was a finance director there. We sold exotic cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, you name it. If it's expensive, we sold it. Nice stuff. I did all the finance there as well. And here just recently, I decided, I wanted to get back to being an entrepreneur. So I quit my job. I left that job and decided to sell my house, and I decided to go on some adventures out here in life and see what the world holds for me.
Yeah, man. All right, so I got some questions for you. Let's dive into them, man. The first question I have for you, as someone that has traveled all over the world multiple times, what are your opinions about other cultures versus ours?
So to me, I feel like culture is something that you can't pick or choose. Obviously, you're born with it; it's embedded in you, and you live it. It is what it's life. I mean, you can't change it. You can't be mad at how you were born or what you experienced growing up or anything like that. One thing I have noticed when I go to some of these other countries that may not have the money that we have and the material things and the stuff, I see a lot of happiness there. People that don't have anything, and it kind of befuddles me. I don't understand how poor people can be so happy at some allegedly poor and in a dangerous place. What we've known to perceive those countries as. And they're just extremely happy-go-lucky people that have pretty simple lives. So, I love to see other cultures. I'm not the type of person that will go just walk in and go with a group of American people somewhere and go see the place. I'll go by myself, and I'll immerse myself into the culture and immerse myself to the people. And people think I'm crazy. Maybe they think I'll get kidnapped or something crazy, but that's not how the world works. You hear a lot of horror stories here, but that's not how. There's a lot of good people everywhere in the world. So. I fully immerse myself into the everything, and I want to eat the food, hear the music. I want to hang out. I want to laugh. I want to watch people do silly stuff and dance. And I mean, that's the type of stuff that I like when I travel. So, other countries are very rich in a lot of their culture. I think, in America, our culture is capitalism, win, make a bunch of money, be successful, be rich, be somebody important. And I think that sometimes people miss the boat on what life really is important. Just enjoying your life day by day and being in the moment and being happy with where you're at,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because everything costs money in this world, and we need food, we need a house, we need cars, we need to be able to pay our bills, we need to be able to make a certain amount of money. But I think what is lost on Americans a lot is what happiness is. And happiness doesn't necessarily come from objects. Me and you have conversations about this with, the exotic cars that you were selling. And that's something I've chose to never participate in. Even though I'm at a point in my life now, if I wanted to, I could. But I choose not to. Because I don't need objects to make me happy. I'm happy within. And it took me into my 30s to make that happen. And so, I realized that a lot of things that Americans look for, whether it's social media recognition or recognition because of their house or their cars or possessions or jewelry or clothes, real happiness comes within in who you are, and are you happy and content with who you are, and what do you think about life, and what do you do with your life, and how you live your life. in those other countries, they're not caught up in the rat race of the capitalism society and all the fake stuff that America shoves down their throats, because America convinces you that you need to buy all this stuff to be happy. In reality, what you need to do is find internal peace to be happy.
100%.
And so I think when you encounter these people in these other cultures and these other countries, they're more simplistic in their lifestyle and just enjoying life for what it is instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses. And so I appreciate that. Just real quick, name some of, give us 10, 15 different countries that you visited.
So in the past 6 weeks, I have been in Colombia 3 times. I went to Costa Rica, I went to Iceland, and I also went to Amsterdam, to Holland.
But you've also visited places like Italy.
Yeah, I've been to Italy 2 times. I've been to Switzerland a couple times. I've skied in the Alps, absolutely gorgeous place. I advise everyone to make a trip to Switzerland and ride the trains there because it's amazing.
Yeah.
But been all over the U.S., California, pretty much. I think I've been in 38 states in the U.S. I've been to pretty much every Caribbean island that you could go to. Most of the Central American countries I've been to. Only Colombia and South America. So yeah, I've been able to see a lot. I've been to Paris. I've seen a lot.
What's your favorite out of all of them?
All the places that I've been, I love Costa Rica. It's my favorite. It's my heart. I've been there probably 15 times, I would say. So they just have the lifestyle of pure vida, and it's just simple. It's like pure life. That's what that translation equals. And people are happy. They're pretty chill. Life is good. They live off the land. It's a very simple life, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. You go one place and you're volcanoes. You go another place, one of the most pristine beaches you'll ever imagine. You go to another place, you're monkeys, crocodiles, jaguars, you name it. It's just a whole lot of everything that the world and the earth has created is all in one place, and it's very cool to see.
Awesome, man. You guys get out there, travel, check out the world, check out different places, check out different culture, meet different people in different ways and walks of lives. Experience life. You understand that here in America, everything isn't everything, and that there's real life to be lived, and there's real happiness to be gained internally and from all the beautiful things here on earth. And that's not the possessions in this capitalist country that you're told that you should have and that you should buy. All right, man. So I appreciate the answer to that.
I just want to add one thing here, just to throw this in at the end. Honestly, like Larry was just talking about, at one point in time, I realized, I got $1 million house, I've got a Lamborghini, I've got a beautiful truck, I've got a beautiful Indian motorcycle. What more possessions could one man possibly ask for at that point in time? And I realized I wasn't happy. And all those possessions, all those things that life has taught me that I needed to get in order to be successful and to attain happiness. Once I got it, it wasn't happiness. And then I realized being somewhere with nothing in this simple situation, living in the moment is a more happy feeling than having all those things that I got to worry about. So that being said, hey, that's where I'm at.
It's funny you said living in the moment, because I always tell people all the time, live in the moment. Too many people live in the past or are always thinking about what's next.
The future.
Instead of enjoying life right now in the moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the next question I have, and this is a good one, man. I'm really excited to hear your answer on this one. As someone who has reached an extremely successful level as an entrepreneur and as a corporate employee, what differences did you notice in the two, and what's your opinions on the two?
So obviously pros and cons to both. Owning your own business, that is definitely what everybody wants to have in their life at some point in time. Owning a successful business where you don't have to work it 24/7 is a beautiful thing. It really, things start to run smooth. You got money coming in. It's not a ton of problems. But at the end of the day, it's just always something that you're tied to, and you have no one to pass the buck to. So something goes wrong, you can't just go home and punch the clock and not think about it anymore. It's your problem to fix that at that point in time. So, there's no one to pass the buck to. It's you own it, and you're in control of it. And if you want it to be successful, you have to make sacrifices. There's been times where I've had to go to the bar at 3 o'clock in the morning. A drunk employee sat on the toilet, broke it, shattered it, spilled water all over the floor. But guess who's got to get up and go clean it up and deal with it at 3 in the morning? The owner of the company. So that's the downside. Obviously, the benefit, you can hire people, you can train them, you can put them in places, you can build a machine that runs smoothly, and you just make sure that you oversee it and make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to, and then you can travel and you can do things and you can live life in a more free, simplistic way as well. You just have to don't get caught up in trying to like take over the world, because at some point enough is enough to me. You know? So I think that's where I got lost as an entrepreneur. I wanted to take over the world. It was more of a win situation for me than to get to be comfortable situation at that time in my life. So, but I mean, your business is great. I mean, that's the downside is just, you don't know what to pass the buck to. It's your problem.
And what about the corporate side?
Corporate side is amazing. Corporate side, the only thing you invest in corporate side of work is time. Obviously, time is extremely, extremely important to everyone. It should be, but you're not coming in with any physical capital. You're not coming in with anything other than your time. And for me to be able to start at a job that I had no experience at 40 years old, and completely start a new career, walk into a car dealership on a Craigslist ad as a car salesman at a Jeep Dodge store, was a big pill for me to swallow. But at that same point, I was able to climb that corporate ladder, and they promoted me at that company in 9 months. Here a year and a half later, I'm making close to $250,000 a year. So it's a beautiful thing where someone can go somewhere with nothing and reach that level in that short of a time. And it's not because I'm anything special. It's just because I have a good work ethic, and I don't cheat and don't steal and don't lie. So at the end of the day, you live right. You can move up very fast in the corporate world. The downside to that, whenever you work for somebody, at the end of the day, you're sacrificing your time and you're sacrificing your money. They are in control of those two things. That's two things for a man that's very difficult to swallow for most people. I can't swallow it anymore. I did it for 5 years, but my time and someone controlling my time and money is no longer an option for me. I have to be in control of that from here on forward. It's just one of those things where the sacrifice is no longer worth it. I would rather make less money and be in control of my own time and my own money than have to have someone call me at 5 in the morning asking me why the money hasn't been paid for a Ferrari somebody bought. I don't want to live that. So that's the downside of working for somebody, and the plus side. At the end of the day, at a job, I punch the clock, go home. It's not my problem anymore. At the dealership, there was a huge title issue with the guy, and he was trying to force them to buy it back, and he hired lawyers and all this stuff. And it was my problem when I was there. The day I punched the clock and left, I don't give a damn. It's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of working for someone as well.
As someone that reached an extremely high level at both, which one do you prefer?
A 100% entrepreneur. I mean, 100%. Once you get set into a lifestyle where you have a certain amount of money coming in the United States, and you're living and you buy a home, and you have to maintain that lifestyle. So once you go from being an entrepreneur to a corporate lifestyle with a high-paying job, it's really hard to switch back. You have to like either be able to save a ton of money to maintain the lifestyle that you created with this corporate job and this big paycheck. And if you don't do that, then the other option is you're going to have to downsize, take a step back, and then start your business, which is kind of where I'm at right now, which is fine. I don't need the big home anymore at this point, so it's a bargaining chip for me to be able to move around how I want to. So
yeah, all right. Well, I appreciate the insight into it. So I'm curious to hear your opinion on this one. What is your opinion on cancel culture and the woke culture?
So, Larry, I don't watch a whole lot of news. I try not to look at a whole lot of social media. Obviously you can't avoid it. It's everywhere. It's shoved down your throat 24/7. So if you're, I think I was thinking about it on the way over here. Maybe I just have old-fashioned ideals, or maybe I'm just not with the times anymore. But I mean, obviously, none of that stuff makes a whole lot of sense to me. The pronouns, the he, she, the mixed use of bathrooms is very confusing to me. I don't really understand that. As far as the cancel culture, where people are, scared to talk and they're scared to say things. I mean, I feel like the problem is, America was built on dreams and people and their ideals and our arrogance. I mean, that's what Americans are. We're arrogant and we're brash, and that's who we are. We're business minded. We're capitalist people. It's like taking that away from us creates, a total unbalance of power at the moment, and people don't really know what to do, and it's just creating a lot of confusion for everyone. You know what I mean?
What's funny is someone that, you say you're old school, but we're close in age. You're a couple years older than me, but we grew up at the same time in this, same mind frame, the same, the 80s and 90s and stuff. What's funny to me is what is considered a Republican now, 10, 15 years ago would be considered a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And what is a Democrat now is, and I'm not taking a shot at Democrats because I don't support Democrats or Republicans. I'm just speaking from a factual standpoint of looking at things. If you rewind time 15 years ago, your Dems were your Dems, your Republicans, your Republicans. It's like the Dems went whew, way over here, and the Republicans were like, well, we got to do a little bit. So then they went over to what the Dems used to be.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of where we're at now. And some of this stuff is just kind of ludicrous. And if you identify as something, that's fine. And as a man, I'll be respectful to you. If you say, if your name used to be John and now your name is Tiffany, then if you tell me your name is Tiffany, I'm going to call you Tiffany and I'm going to treat you with respect. But if John, who is now Tiffany, decides that they want to, become a wrestler and goes and gets in the ring and wrestling women, I don't support that.
Right. That's weird.
That's not, I'm sorry, and you can call me what you want and say what you want about me, that's fine. But I think there's a lot of people that agree with me that men shouldn't be in the ring wrestling women. And if you identify as a woman, that's fine. We'll treat you as such in respect. But biologically, you are born a man. And our bodies, we either have an X chromosome or Y chromosome. We either run off of estrogen or testosterone. Our bone structure is different. Our muscle mass index is different. So regardless of what you're trying to tell me, it's not fair. I haven't fought. The last time I got in a ring and fought and got paid to do it was in 2001. That's 22 years ago. This is how confident I am with this. And I mean this in all seriousness. You can think this, people think this is a joke. Amanda Nunes is considered the greatest UFC fighter of all time. She's a 135-pound champion and a 145-pound champion. She's considered the best of all time. I will guarantee you, 100% guarantee, if I identified as a girl starting today, and even if you gave me medicine to take my testosterone levels, if you gave me 6 months to train, I'll knock her out in the first round. I mean, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I don't ever want to put my hands on a woman, so I'm not advocating.
It's just not the same.
I'm just putting a fact out there. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And I mean that in no disrespectful way. It's just not right. And sometimes we just got to have common sense, right, man. I don't agree with the cancel culture because I believe that, all the guys in my family, especially on my mother's side, were all military men, and they fought for our right to have freedom of speech. So when you try to take that away, you try to take away one of our First Amendments, and you try to take away something that all my family members fought for, and millions and millions of other Americans fought for. So I feel like we're trying to create a controlled environment where they want everybody to think, talk, speak, act exactly the same, which we're not meant to be. We're not robots. Right. We're human beings. We're individuals. And so that's got to be careful, because imagine if Martin Luther King would have been silenced and just had to shut up and we couldn't hear his voice. All those changes would have never happened. Imagine if Abraham Lincoln, they told him, shut up, you can't talk, and they just quieted him. All those changes, and any great person throughout history, we can name more and more and more. But, you can't silence people's voices, especially when something's wrong. And I took great offense to them trying to silence people's voices when it came to COVID and the vaccine. Because there was too much misinformation, there was too much controlled information, there was too much trickery and lies and deception, and you don't get to control the narrative and push one side out and make everybody look crazy or cancel them when they speak the other. Especially when you're talking about world-renowned doctors from Johns Hopkins and Stanford and Harvard University they're speaking up. And they shouldn't have been silenced. And I don't agree with that. The woke culture, I kind of touched on that a little bit, but the woke culture, I wonder what they're woke to. And the reason I wonder what they're woke to is because I know you, Sam, on a personal level. And I know you came up in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. I know who you are as a person, the way you carry yourself, your style, your friends, who we was just outside kicking it with a few minutes ago. That's who me and you are. Right. Those type of things, those boundaries have never mattered to us. Right. With our friends being black or our friends being Spanish, or we was just talking about there, you being fluent in Spanish and moving down to South America. So we haven't judged people for their race or for their sexuality or their religion. But now all of a sudden, there's this great divide trying to be like, you either got to believe this, and this, and if you don't, you're part of the problem. Well, where did you guys come from? Because right. Me and Sam been on this, we've been on this boat way before you guys ever came here. We've been cool with all races and nationalities and sexualities, our whole lives we've been cool with it. But you come with this off the wall stuff now, and if we don't agree with this off the wall stuff, we're part of the problem. But explain to me, because where the fuck have you guys been for the last 43 years of my life? You know, you guys just came out with this woke culture, and some of y'all stuff is so stupid, and y'all are the most sleepingest people I know talking about being woke. What the hell are you woke to? I got something for you. Stop jumping on fads. Stop jumping on trends. Stop jumping on the next thing that's going to make you cool. Like, no one, if you go vote, we don't need to see your I just voted. If you just went and got your shot, we don't need to see your I just got my shot. If you feel like all of a sudden you've become enlightened and you have some black friends now all of a sudden, you ain't woke. Stop acting like y'all are cool and stop jumping on these trends and these trains and thinking it's making you cool or part of hip or some part of this new system because all of a sudden you pointing something out. You're not pointing nothing new out. We've been trying to tell y'all this for years, and y'all look at us crazy 20 years ago. Now all of a sudden y'all ran past us, and now y'all looking at us like we're crazy?
Yeah, that's a little. Well, that's, you know, like I said, maybe I'm old school, you know, that's obviously not to offend anybody, but, yeah. I mean, who's to say their way is better or our way is better, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's very confusing the times that we're in. I mean, I think for the people that are pushing the agenda, it's confusing for them, you know, they don't even know what's going on, they're getting shoved these drugs, everybody's prescribed Adderall, everybody's prescribed Xanax. I mean, it's just like, people are getting just muted in life and just forced to just be quiet and accept everything, and that's not how America is, bro. I mean, George Washington is the founding father. That dude was an arrogant, badass dude that rode a horse and shot people and cut people down. Like, that's what this America has turned into, with people living and creating careers and retiring and all that stuff and being millionaires off the government. That's not how it was planned to be, and that's kind of, you know, the issue. And everybody's just confused right now. Everybody's just really confused. I mean, you know, there's a big shift of power among, you know, the government. Our president's going to jail here, our ex-president is going to jail. There's a lot of just unprecedented things happening, and it's just a lot of uncertainty. So I think there's a big shift of power, and that's kind of what's causing all this confusion right now.
I got a solution though.
What's that?
Let's cancel the woke movement and let's cancel the cancel culture.
Go back how it was.
There's my solution. Alright, so the next question I have for you is, I heard you once say that political figures use pop culture to influence people. Elaborate more on that.
So, okay, this has started happening with Ronald Reagan. I mean, the guy was an actor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pop culture guy. But, you know, over the years, I feel like our government has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and expanded, and more departments and more money. And then, you know, you have one Democrat there, he sets everything up, and then, you know, the next guy comes in, wipes all this stuff out he did. The next guy comes in, wipes out all the stuff he did. And it's just, you know, creating a lot of loose ends at this point.
I think Bill Clinton was one of the ones that used it really well too. You know, he went on the Arsenio Hall show,
yeah.
It was the biggest show, and played the saxophone, and was doing the MTV interviews on the tour bus and stuff.
That was the Monica Lewinsky scandal. I mean, bro, that was news for everybody in America. That was the biggest story. I was 5 years old and I knew that the guy got a blowjob or whatever. You know, like, come on, man.
And you know, and hearing, you know, him say, "Yeah, I inhaled," or I didn't inhale. I just exhaled." Okay, brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I think really more what I wanted to touch on was the day that you was explaining it to someone, and I heard you explain it. You was talking about, you know, Biden and his campaign recently, and like how they will work with some of these celebrities, whether they're, you know, musicians or actors or comedians, and they'll get them to support them or take pictures with them or get them to say stuff. Because I was reading something the other day, I think Cardi B has 74 million followers. If I don't quote me to the exact number, because I read the article about 2 weeks ago, so I can't remember the exact numbers. But I think it said Cardi B had 74 million followers. She did something, she supported something, and someone filed a lawsuit against her because they were like, you know, she spread all this misinformation to that many followers. But I know that she was a heavy supporter of Biden. Mm-hmm. So when you get influential figures in our society to support you through pop culture, like you were saying. I just thought it was an interesting take. I was listening to your conversation that day, and I was just taking it in. But I said to myself, like, Sam's really onto something, because that's very true. That's exactly what they do.
Well, I mean, look, as someone who's been able to travel around the world, our culture is the strongest culture in the world, man. You go everywhere, people listen. People know who Jay-Z and Beyonce are everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you go, people know who Beyonce is. So why would they not use that as a platform for them? I mean, the biggest one to me that just blows my mind, and you know, guys know I'm not racist by any stretch, but Jay-Z and Obama, I mean, come on, Jay-Z is a renounced cocaine drug dealer, self-proclaimed, made man in the streets of New York, and he's hanging out with our president, and they're supporting each other, and they're pals. Like, that's doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would our president be hanging out with somebody who is a self-proclaimed, law-breaking, drug-dealing, murderous type of individual? You know, I love Jay-Z and I love Obama too, don't get me wrong, but those two guys probably should be hanging out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, any other culture except they gain votes.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Vladimir Putin probably has some gangster friends, but we're not supposed to be a communist country. We're supposed to be a capitalist country. Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree, you know, with that, you know, and not just that. I mean, I do agree with what you're saying if the president of the United States, and people probably will get offended when you say that about Jay-Z, like, so what, he made it here and here, you know, because I've overcome a lot and you've overcome a lot, you know, but the president ain't kicking it with me.
Right. He's calling me.
Yeah.
He's not calling me either. So.
But I don't have 100 million followers on IG.
No, and I'm not saying anything wrong. Jay-Z is probably one of the coolest people that I've ever seen growing up, and I mean, he's a legend. Obviously, he is the legend in the hip hop industry. I mean, the guy is one in a million. I mean, he made it in the streets of New York. His song tells it all, you know. Yeah. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm not saying anything bad about Jay-Z, or I'm not saying anything bad about Obama, but just
it's
how they use politics with pop culture, and those guys are friends and they help each other, and that's just how it works, you know. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think that some of these figures get paid money by these politicians, or maybe not directly from the politicians, but their backers to actually support them? So I don't know. Let's just throw a hypothetical out there that Big Tobacco is supporting, you know, the next candidate, and so the next candidate can cipher a little of that money to the side to some of these people that we just mentioned. Hey, support them on IG, support them on your social media. Do you think that some of them are getting paid to do that?
Oh, I mean, you know, that's how the world works. A favor for a favor. I mean, that's just how.
Sam, don't tell them the secrets.
That's just how it's been for days. I mean, in other countries, you'll see corruption is very open, and they talk about it, and it's not something that is swept under the rug, and all of a sudden they pull it out and go arrest a bunch of people, and everybody goes to jail. It's like they address it when it happens, and people don't even lose their jobs in these political places in other countries from corruption. They just say, hey, dude, you're corrupt. Like, you got to stop being corrupt, or else we're going to replace you. You know, they address it. So, you know, that's kind of the difference too there that I see, you know, as far as that goes. But yeah, corruption's everywhere. Favor for a favor. So I'm sure that Jay-Z, knowing Obama, is going to benefit him in some way, shape, or I wish I knew Obama. Shit. I mean, look at, what's the guy that got pardoned by Donald Trump? Kodak Black?
Yeah.
I mean, he pardoned a pop star just because, you know, he knew it would help him.
Yeah, I would just say this, you guys, be mindful, man. First of all, I don't really understand how people idol worship celebrities and stuff anyways. To me, it's always been super weird. But, you know, it doesn't matter. If you follow a musician or a comic or an actor because you like that particular person or their style or their music, whatever, because they tell you that they took a shot or that they went and voted for this person or that they did this or did that or whatever, it doesn't mean that you have to do that. Be your own person with your own free thought and make your own decisions. Don't be influenced like that, and be smart enough to understand there's a reason why they're influencing you in a certain direction. All right, so the next question I have for you is, as someone who was in a bad marriage and got divorced a couple years ago, what advice would you give to others that are in a similar situation, maybe that either haven't made the move to make the divorce yet and they need a kick in the butt to do it, or just made the decision and now they're struggling to, you know, start over?
Right, man, it's a tough one there. That was you saw me go through a lot with that. Yeah, yeah. That was 2 years of a very difficult time in my life, but you know, I just, you know, had to just really just swallow a lot of everything, and pride, patience, everything. I mean, I've never heard so many people tell me, be patient, be patient, be patient. And I got so tired of people telling me to be patient.
What I tell you?
You told me, figure out how to get out of it.
I said, get the hell out.
Get the hell out. But, you know, the laws and the society and the way things are, you know, I was put in a situation where it wasn't really easy for me to just, you know, nip it in the bud and walk away. So I was in a situation where people were living and kids included and everything else. So it wasn't quite as simple for me to just walk away. But, you know, it got so bad to the point where I was ready to just file bankruptcy and let it all go away. That's how bad I got there at one point in time. But, you know, the one thing I can say is, yeah, you got to get yourself out of that situation. You can't just keep going day in and day out and expect something to change. I mean, you know, that's obviously the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing every day and expect something to be different, because you're going to get the same results over and over when you do the same thing. So you keep dealing with the same person and having the same conversations and the same arguments, you're going to have the same results. So, you know, once you see the writing on the wall, do whatever you can to try to, like, you know, get your P's and Q's in order, protect yourself, and, you know, just try to figure out the best way out of that situation so you can find yourself again and live your life and do what you want to do.
You was in a relationship with a narcissist 101. They make everything about them. You know, they were a liar, they were a cheater, they did a lot of stuff, they were physically abusive. And I know it sounds crazy when I'm saying that, because people are probably watching like, what, he's a guy, so it doesn't mean nothing. Women and men can both be abusive. And so, you know, you was going through that and you dealt with that stuff. One of the tactics of a narcissist is they beat you down mentally.
Right.
And they make you feel like you're not shit, you're not worthy, and you're not all these different things, because they can control you better when they break you down mentally.
Right.
Because then your self-esteem gets broke down, and then you question whether anyone else will want you, or whether you should leave, or whether you have any other options. So if someone else is out there and they're experiencing that right now, me and my wife talk about how most people won't leave until they, like, just completely broken, had enough, and, like, you know, hit their rock bottom. If someone's out there struggling, saying to themselves right now, man, should I do this? I don't know. What would you say to them if you could say something wrong?
I would tell them to look at their life and what it's become, and to really realize, like, what's going on. Like, what are you contributing and what are you getting in return? Because when I realized that I was working 60, 70 hours a week, I'm providing a house, I'm providing food, I'm providing clothing for all of these people, and I'm the only one that's suffering, and I realized that, and it's just like, wait a minute, this is not what life is meant to be at this point in time. Then you have to figure out how to get out of that survival mode and get into ending the situation and getting out of it. And then you almost have to be reborn. I mean, you have to start completely over and figure out, why do I do things that I do? I'm not doing it for these people and this woman anymore. You know, I got to figure out how to do it for me. But then once you figure that out and you start doing things and you find happiness, your whole life can change. I mean, I went from being one of the hardest people to be around 2 years ago, miserable, cranky, irritable, just not ever have anything good to talk about, to probably one of the most grateful, happy, thankful people that, you know, that I could be right now. And I'm very happy with who I am, you know. So I'm like, get the hell out of that situation, get away from that narcissist person, figure yourself out, build yourself back up, make value in who you are, because everybody can be valuable to someone, somewhere, someplace, and get in where you fit in, you know. Like, that's all you can do at that point in time. But you gotta, like, kick yourself in the ass and get that jump start and do it, you know.
Yeah, if someone's watching or listening, man, please know this: no matter how far down the wrong road or wrong relationship or how bad things have gotten, no one deserves to be in a situation where they're being mentally or physically abused. No one deserves to be in a situation where they're being cheated on or taken advantage of, or not treated respectfully or the correct way. If you find yourself in a situation like that and you're not being treated right, you have to do what you have to do to get yourself out of there. You know, me and my wife, we did a charity fundraiser about a year ago. We donated some money to the women and kids shelter, because that's one of the places that me and my mom had to go to get away from abusive situations when I was younger. So there's people out there that can help. There's places out there that can help. Just make sure you get yourself out of that situation. We as human beings, we deserve better. So no matter where you're at right now on a mental level, if you've been beat down, just know deep down inside that you deserve better and that better's out there for you.
And you can get it.
So, all right, man, I got one last question for you. This is the Be the Best You podcast, right? So, if anyone's watching or listening today and you could give them one piece of advice or motivation, what would it be?
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. This is something that has changed in my life very drastically just recently in the last couple months. I was always on the go. It was almost like a game. You know, I'd schedule my flight 7:15 p.m. I'm gonna get to the airport, 6:30, squeeze it as close as I can, get on the plane, try to maximize. It was like a game, like as busy as I can be, do as much as I can do all the time. Like go, 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 go. Set up this appointment, go from that appointment, go to my trainer, go do this, go do that, and just have my day scheduled, and it'd be real smooth moving. I thought that, hey, if I'm productive and I schedule everything like that, I'm gonna end up doing so much more stuff, and I'm gonna be accomplishing way more stuff. But here recently, I slowed down a little bit in life, so I go to the airport 2 hours early now. You know why? And I'll get there a little early because I can walk around, and maybe I can drink a nice cup of coffee. I can sit down and enjoy the scenery. I'm not in a rush. I'm not stressed out. I'm not frustrated. Recently I returned from Medellin. I went to Florida, and 100 times out of 100, I'm going to get off of that plane in Orlando and go straight to Charlotte, go home, do whatever I got to do. But I decided to stop, go see an old high school friend, spend the night. It was amazing. I had a great conversation. We talked for hours. Next morning I got up, I went to the beach, I saw where they launched the rockets from NASA, I saw the peacocks that are naturally inhabiting the land, and I just spent a little time in the morning, and I saw some beautiful things, and I would say to most people, if you can and you can afford it, just take it a little bit extra time to enjoy things, slow down, let life, enjoy the simple things, the coffee, the birds, just the scenery, just whatever you can, just take a little bit extra time and slow down and enjoy the little things, because that's very important.
Slow down, enjoy life. I feel you, man. Most of my life I was like that. I was wired like that. I've chilled out the last couple of years, and I found a lot more peace and happiness in my life.
It's great.
And enjoying the small things that we don't always normally, enjoy. So you guys, listen to what the man said. If you someone that never has time, you're always running around, always on the move, slow things down a little bit. Like we said earlier, live in the moment, enjoy your life, take things in, take nature in, take life in, enjoy the small moments, enjoy your loved ones, enjoy your life. The most important thing in this world is time, because it's the one thing you can never get more of. So enjoy the time that you have. Stop worrying about the past, stop worrying about the future, concentrate on the now, and be happy in the now. Sam, man.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Thank you.
Hey, this man's leaving to go to South America, so I'm going to come down there and see you.
Definitely.
Check out his Airbnbs, and you head down to South America. You have an awesome place to stay. Man, thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of the Be The Best You podcast. Please make sure you take the time to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. All right, man. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Try until you fly.